Upon your first moments, when you exit the womb of the mother, you are blank. In a state of zero, one might say. But as time progresses, you begin to shape who you are as a person or animal if you identify as such. Depending on your environment or even species, you will either gear towards one of two things, but always with the potential for both, light and dark. Both parts of the human condition, and in many creatures in society, this is similar. For many animals, maybe even some humans, but for one species on this planet, there is a proper order of things. A creature that has baffled the world of the internet in both Japan and the West, with the sudden discovery of them only a short while ago in 2016. A recent discovery of a creature so perplexing that we spend our waking hours studying their every move, their very language, and their interactions with each other. Virtual YouTubers. This is how the virtual YouTuber begins life, and ends up later becoming when they reach full maturity. To ruin the dream of men through their own duality is the eventual endpoint for all VTubers. For you see, it's merely in these special creatures' nature. In the end, they either die a rejected idol, or live long enough to see themselves begging for feet pics.
Disgusting!
So, you're a Japanese idol fan. You're living in Japan, shoveling out money for the next AKB48 live concert. And your even fatter unwashed friend calls you. He's screaming over the phone to you, spewing endless praise about something you've never heard of before. Virtual YouTubers. So your friend takes you by the hand and then drags you on a journey that leads to a bottomless pit that you have no choice but to jump into, spelling the end of your social life and the beginning of the virtual simpage. Because while you were able to go and leave your house to go to an AKB48 live concert, here you can just stay at home. And as you enter the hole for the first time, you fall for a bit, and everything seems wonderful. These virtual girls are pure angels, with nothing but sugary sweet, sometimes tardy, personalities. It's a beautiful scene inside. Birds are singing, flowers are blooming, but for the coming days for men like you, everything will be burning in hell. You then begin to fall farther and farther at a faster rate, and things begin to feel hot, as you now have just entered VTuber hell. As all your preconceived notions of the virtual idol dream begin to melt away and turn into a virtual nightmare. What you have just witnessed, before your mind was crushed harder than Seto Kaiba, is the true VTuber evolution. The evolution that breaks their shell, bringing forth the uglier parts that you might find disgusting, but that others find so beautiful. When a VTuber first hits the scene, it's almost guaranteed that she'll start off very cautious. Cutely so, in fact, perhaps sickeningly cute even. And the typical idol fans fall into this trap, with no fault of the VTuber in question, as it's only natural for the young and defenseless VTuber to feel cautious, shy, and nervous when birthed. Because VTubers, at least for now on the JP side, seem to all be people who have grown up with the internet. But when talking about a brand new VTuber, for the idol in question, when they begin to stream for at least a few weeks, more and more of something comes through. Something that spells the end of the hearts and feelings of the idol fans of old, as the VTuber in question has gone from a fresh sapling to a young adult VTuber who has fully seated themselves in their eventual role. The VTuber in question shows their true colors and their true nature. And with the reveal of this nature, the idol fans of old suffer their own metaphorical atomic explosion, with the revelation hitting them like what Little Boy did to Hiroshima. And this is a case study of this evolution that has affected them so greatly. In this case study, we have been given a few examples to look at from our reports, to see what VTubers are like in their natural habitat, to hopefully begin to understand how this happens. And we'll begin with case study 1. When subject number 1, codenamed Catfox, first reared her pretty little head, she was known to be quite the shy creature. But she would take her time to raise her head above, as she gathers what little courage she can from her kitty fox heart. With the advent of this sweet creature, idol fans from all over the world, joined by an at the time minuscule amount of Westerners, were all ready to welcome their new Seiso Pog champ queen into their unfulfilled lives. But as time went on, something odd was happening, as this creature in unfamiliar territory began to make the wilds of YouTube her home. While normally a VTuber would stream, Catfox, or Fubuki as some were calling this now budding creature of what some might call Seiso, began to demonstrate her species of VTuber's own method of waste disposal, as she began to eject just single clips of her with no original stream attached. Pre-recorded videos of her doing acapellas of meme songs.
I'm a Scatman.
God, who the fuck wrote this report? Seeing this brand new form of life begin to display its natural affinity for memes, she began to soar in popularity, but what no one felt that they were ready for was the level of dedication to being the post of shit on the internet that she was. Her shitposts began to grow more and more frequent, and her collabs with other virtual YouTubers began to spiral out of control. Eventually, she became one of the few Hololive VTubers that our experts witnessed to reach that coveted 1 million subscriber mark. But this one case, out of the few we have chosen to use for our examples, is somewhat domesticated and is nothing compared to the massive bomb dropped onto idol fans that is case study number 2, hailing from a different nation rather than the now infamous country of Hololive, an entirely new nation with its own breed of VTubers roaming the lands. A creature who isn't really a monkey, but she does make a lot of monkey noises. Behold the wilds of the internet land known as Nijisanji, a brutal environment of which only the most degenerate of creatures shall thrive in. Look upon the lands, for our very own case study is being seen in her natural habitat, her codename being Princess Kong. We can, as we slowly approach, see her own species form of a mating ritual in all its wild waifu glory. Hey, come on, hey, get a bit closer, come on. Ride wife. Life good. Want new wife. New wife, fight back! Say only be one wife! Killed wife! Old wife gone. Never think about old wife. Ah, what a marvelously degrading sight. The old is cast out for the new. Now, back to our regularly...
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Are you tired of that old VTuber crush? Are you sick of fapping to that same VTuber picture over and over again? Do you wanna experience something new? Then go buy a Tenga and watch someone else, you stupid degenerate fuck. For the low price of your dignity, you can use your fat unwashed fingers for once to search for more VTubers besides a cat that thinks it's a fox. Introducing Candy Kong, if she weren't a fucking gorilla. No wait. She still acts like one. Buy a Tenga now and use your imagination, you little shit. And now back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Alright, well, as you can see, she's quite the handful. Currently she's quite the degenerate. But she didn't always start this way. When she started, this awkward form of life that seemed to be a bundle of purity was nothing more than the anime version of Cinderella. If that Cinderella spent up to like 2 weeks or so hiding her secret lolicon tendencies and had a 24/7 injection of monkey vibes pumped into her. Going from being Cinderella to what is now known to some as Gibera in only a few weeks, she struck quite a chord with some people. Not only for her degenerate behavior, but also for a reason I went over in a previous video that I'll link in the description. Talking about how these wild anime girls have forced an evolution on simps. Starting off pure, but going full horny chimpanzee in no time flat, such a creature clearly goes well and beyond the levels of crazy that codename Catfox went through, all the while having other creatures in the wild of the internet shower her in what appears to be money. But still, this is a little bit beneath the levels of degeneracy that our next target and final example displayed. An example of such internet filth that she might as well be one of the VTubers that forms a collective that makes her the VTuber equivalent of a child being born from the genes of both Filthy Frank and How To Basic. All neatly packaged in case study number 3. In order to truly achieve ultra filth stink, there is always one thing you must do. And our next case study, codenamed Atomic Vomit, calling herself Haachama, mastered that over the course of her life as a VTuber. While the other two creatures were slightly wild in Catfox's case, and uncontrolled degeneracy in Princess Kong's case, it took them no time flat to behave like this. But our final case only showed her true degeneracy after focusing it inward for a lengthy period of time, before finally unleashing it fully upon the unsuspecting world. We are all familiar with the act of cooking. We do it to help pre-digest the food that we eat in order to remove harmful entities from it. But in the case of Atomic Vomit, her idea of cooking is to introduce brand new dangers to the act of eating. Her diet is quite the despicable one. A diet of food combinations that should never exist. You'd think Gordon Ramsay would have a heart attack on the toilet while shitting himself everywhere. And you'd probably vomit about as much as he does when he sees a disgusting kitchen. But what's most odd in the case of Atomic Vomit is her propensity towards the natural tongue of wild swine. By approaching a bit closer to her, we can hear her attempting to communicate with what might be a distant relative of hers.
Degenerates. You guys degenerates.
Absolutely fascinating. But while that is quite odd, nothing perplexes us more than her own interest in the lower region's method of upright positioning. Demanding that the locals of the environment present her with images of feet, she began to judge her fellow wild internet denizens' plates of meat, their lowest points. And as she began to do so, with an assortment of reactions such as disgust, shock, and arousal, eventually she would begin to develop her own feet-related problems. Her feet began to stink, and thus she eventually chased away what remained of her old clan, as new clans began to move in, and began to worship her not for her old self, but for the pure degeneracy she displayed now, as she began to cook them whatever putrid garbage she could find, teaching them her ways. And that, my friends, will be where we end this case study on the evolution of VTubers. We hope you enjoyed this documentary, and that you wish us luck in our attempts to embark on even further adventures. And oh! Well, it looks like we've already found one. We found another wild VTuber. It seems to be some form of bird. It looks like our camera crew is going to take a bit of a look at it. Let's follow them, shall we?
，2岁了，壮个蛋炒，驸马郎的